man. Are you here?
I'm always here.
Yeah, I'm wondering. Like, I always see you here, but you never speak.
Well, there's nothing to speak about. The Earth's flat, and that's it.
I want to ask you, like, since when you realize the Earth is flat?
Since I bought a P1000 camera,
T1000 camera. But you swim in the ocean and realize you can see further than what they told you.
much, 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 much further than what we're supposed to see.
So, whereabout do you look at?
I've got a few videos on my YouTube channel in regards to that one. It explains exactly how far I'm supposed to see, and clearly shows that we can see much further than we're supposed to. There are other things that made me change my mind as well, but that was one of the main ones.
Alright, so I'm on a YouTube channel. Which video shows you can see further than?
Middle Park Beach. Just look for the Middle Park Beach one. There's two of them. There's one of them that was taken from a boardwalk, and the other one was taken right down beside the water.
So see Middle Park to Williamstown.
That's the one.
Right. So you're swimming to right.
I'm
Middle
zooming
Park.
into a point that's about 5 kilometres away.
12 kilometers.
5 kilometres. 5 kilometres. And past that is probably 30 kilometres. And because I know the area, I know that the 30-kilometre part is where there's a beach on the other side.
Right. So like on 23 seconds I can see there's an island in the middle, and I can see there's further parts that's further away.
Yeah, it's not an island. It's actually it's the Williamstown foreshore. It's a big industrial complex down there. You That's actually attached. It's all attached. We live in a bay area where we have a complete bay of water. It's attached to the ocean, but it's actually a bay. The part that we're looking at.
Right. So I'm on Google Map right now. So yeah, you're in Meadows Park Beach.
Middle Park Beach on the boardwalk there, and then below the boardwalk is on the beach sand. And according to my camera height, I should only be able to see half the distance between where that other bit of land is, the Williamstown foreshore, because my horizon should be at 2.5 kilometres. Yet the Williamstown foreshore is 4.8 kilometres. So you can clearly see the Williamstown foreshore, including the waves splashing on the rocks.
Yeah, let me do the distance calculate from Middle Park Beach to Williamstown. So the distance, the distance from Middle Park Beach to Williamstown is 5 kilometers.
4.8.
Right.
I've got my calculations in the video. If you have a look at it, I use the Omni calculator, the Omni Earth Curve calculator, which says that the horizon should be approximately 2.5 or 2.6 kilometres from where I was standing if the camera was 40 centimetres from the water.
40 centimeters and 5.8 kilometers. Well, is that the obscured object parts will be 0, which means you're not supposed to have any obstruct objects.
No, look for the horizon. Look where the horizon should be. If your camera or your observer height is 40 centimetres off the water.
Give me a second. I'll use another calculator.
So just look up the Omni calculator, OMNI. It's a physics calculator. And then you can put in all the details there.
Yes, it's 5.8 kilometers, yeah?
What, to the horizon?
Well, distance to the object. So it says it's from Middle Park.
Distance to object, put 4.8 kilometres.
Yeah. Eyesight level.
Observer height, eyesight level, which is 40 centimetres.
Right, yeah.
And what do you get?
Distance to horizon is 2.2 kilometers.
There you go, 2.2. So therefore, anything after 2.2 should start to be hidden from my view. In other words, the water splashing up against the rocks on the other side, they all should be hidden.
Well, no, because the obscure object part will be 50 centimeters. So you can still see on the other side.
Yeah, that's half a metre. That's half a metre should be missing from the other side, right? Now, if you have a look, on that day, it was very, very calm. We didn't have half a metre waves. We had nearly no waves at all. Therefore, the splashing on the rocks would have been very, very minor, very small splashes.
I think the distance is a little bit too short to prove that there's no curvature.
The distance is absolutely perfect. It's perfect to prove it. I tell you why. Because over a longer distance, you have more refraction, all right? Over a shorter distance, you have less refraction. So you can't then complain about, oh, but the light's bending, the light's doing this, the light's doing that. I chose a day where the water temperature was very close to the air temperature. So very, very little refraction. I chose a day where there was hardly any wind, hardly any wave, no swells. It's perfect to actually decide whether there's any curvature.
Is that the only place you have done your measurement? Is there any place you have that's more distant?
No, I've done other ones as well. I haven't bothered to turn around and document them. There's one that I did from the Great Barrier Reef. You'll see boats going over the horizon. There's a video there. It just goes to show you The boats don't go over the horizon; they just disappear to the naked eye.
Which video?
So you'll see that one as well. Boats going over the horizon video.
Right. Boats going over the curve. How far is it away?
That far that the optical zoom was finished, and I had to use a digital zoom on my P1000. So that's very, very far away.
I see, but yeah, yeah, I think it's not quite possible for you to calculate distance. So, the floating hotel, right? Floating hotel. Is that any way you can actually calculate the distance from the floating hotel to?
You can't, because they move it all the time.
Ah, right. Okay. Well, yeah, there's no quantitative data for me to insert data in the Omni's curvature calculator, so I can't really do anything about that.
No, there's no data at all on one. The only thing that you can say is that the distance is very, very far away because of the way that we had to do the optical to digital zoom. Now remember, the P1000 is a very powerful camera, and to turn around and be able to zoom into something with the digital zoom means it's very, very far away.
Hmm. Yeah, I do understand this can swim in a very long distance, but still, you cannot provide data, and that's a bit tough to
Well, I
check
mean,
whether
how
or
much
not
data
it's.
do you need? I mean, my first video clearly shows that there is no horizon there where it's supposed to be. I mean, how many videos do you need to prove to yourself? This was only to prove to myself, not to prove to anyone else. No, there was a few things that I needed to get past. That was one of them. The other one was sunsets. All right, sunsets are a big issue, but again, I used my digital camera and I was able to see exactly what the sun does. The sun doesn't set; the sun only goes far away and diminishes.
Whoa. And yet, there's no quotation of that.
What was that?
I mean, the sunset you mentioned, the sun only going further and further away. So it's not going below the horizon. And I would like to see video for use to prove what you said. That the
There
sun
is
is
one. Look,
away.
there is one on my YouTube channel. The problem is that when you upload it to YouTube, the quality is very diminished. And the only way to see it was when you have the original clip, which I had downloaded to my laptop. Unfortunately, back in November of 23, my house burnt down. It took out my P1000. It took out my laptop. It took out my drones. We lost everything. So, I've only
Right.
just reordered another P1000. And as soon as I get a chance, I'm going to go and do some more observations and upload them to YouTube again.
I see.
I just sent you a couple of videos in your messages showing you my house fire.
Oh well. You got hit by like a. You got hit by a typhoon or something.
Who's that?
A hurricane.
No, not at all. Not in Australia, mate.
Right. So just a normal house fire.
Yeah, normal house fire, mate. Big house fire, unfortunately.
Oh well. Sorry about that.
The funny thing is, Leaf, that down where we are, down south in Australia, in Victoria, the observations with the camera, very rarely do you see like the videos of a half a boat over a horizon. You generally, what you see is just boats getting smaller and smaller and smaller. But yet, over in America, a lot of these half boats going over the horizon. It's very strange. We must have like different conditions down here that don't give the effect of boats going over the horizon.
Wait, so you say like in Australia, boat just like appears to be smaller and smaller.
That's correct, especially down south where I live. It's a bit cooler, so we just don't get that type of event. You know, like when I'm out on the bay in my boat, and I can be 50 kilometres away from Melbourne CBD, like the central business district, and you can see the whole skyline from 50 kilometres away in the boat. You know, that's a lot of distance to be covering and to be able to see the skyline. That's without the camera. That's the naked eye. The problem is that if I try to use the camera in the boat moves around too much and the P1000 just won't focus easily.
Free Diddy, free Diddy, free Diddy. Diddy did nothing wrong. Y'all feel me? Like, Diddy was just trying to do what he thought was economy. It's a damn shame they locked him.
Well, but the skyline is quite high, so.
No, the skyline in Melbourne is not that high, to be honest with you. It's not that high. It's not like one of these cities that has, 60-story buildings and that. We don't have that down where we are. And you can see the smaller buildings. You know what I mean? It's not just the tall buildings. You can see the smaller buildings. You can see the outline of the city completely. And that's 50 kilometres away, looking over a lot of water. There's no, where we live, there's no curvature at all. There's none.
Right, just because you see the tip top of the skyline, that doesn't mean that there's no obscured parts.
There's no tip top. It's not the tip top. You can see the whole lot. Honestly, on the beach in Altona, there's some refinery towers, oil refinery towers. You can see them clear as day. They're nearly on the water. They're not very far off the water, the refinery towers.
Right.
Leaf, I don't think anyone wants to be a flat earther, right? I mean, just the stigmatism that you get from people, oh, you're a flat earther, you must be dumb, are you blind or something? But the reality is, if the earth is flat, it presents itself as flat, right? And none of these scientists and the astrophysicists and all the so-called experts that have been interviewed over the years in the home server have been able to come up with any definitive proof that there is curvature. What are you supposed to do? Lie to yourself? Well, what do I just say to myself? Oh, no, bugger this. It's a globe because everybody tells me it's a globe, even though my own eyes tell me that it's not.
Yeah, I agree. First of all, I'm quite skeptic on how science have been influencing our way of thinking. So the glow Earth is. I'm not saying it's not real. I think it could be measured in that way. But just because we can measure it with some instrument we created, well, but the reality is not being captured in the instrument, right? So, I mean, my eyes is an instrument, and it's not necessarily giving me the correct information.
But
So,
then again, if your eyes aren't giving you the correct information and a very high powered zoom camera is not giving you the correct information, and there's other laws of physics that we know that can't be broken, that's why they're called laws, they're not giving you the correct information, then what are we supposed to believe? NASA with a lot of their faulty footage? You know, you look up how was the globe proved, and, you know, Google will say to you Eratosthenes. You know, we know very well that Eratosthenes turned around and proved nothing, right, at all. Even like Neil deGrasse Tyson turned around and said that you could get the same result with a smaller local sun. You know, it's just the reality is, why can't you believe what your eyes see?
right. So, so, right, yeah. So, by your own lights, what do you think the so-called Earth that you're living, um, well,
Leaf, there's a lot
in
of
your world, what
unanswered
do you think?
questions.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unanswered questions. Like, here's one of them. Where does the universe finish? Okay, it's ever expanding. Okay, so on the globe side, you have that one. On the flat earth side, you have, well, where does our realm finish? You know what I mean? So there's unanswered questions on both sides. The difference is they've made up a lot of lies when it comes to the globe model, just to please the majority of the people. You know, imagine if the people knew that we lived on a flat plane and there could possibly be more land. Okay, that might get some of these millionaires to turn around and say, I've had enough of the rubbish. I'm going to build an aeroplane that can take us somewhere else. The problem is we can't go anywhere else at the moment. We're not allowed to. You know, so we have to put up with everything the globalists put out for us. We can't change it, right? We can't even turn around and get on social media and tell people that the earth is flat. It's censored. You can't look it up on YouTube, right? All they'll present you is the flat earth debunking videos, not the flat earth proving videos. And there's lots of them out there. Forget mine. Mine's only small. There are other ones that are way, way further. You know, look, I remember watching a Doctor D, I think he was called, and he turned around and he was doing some research on a particular field that he belongs to. And in YouTube back in those days, it came up with a lot of videos that you can watch. Okay, and he was involved in the light field, you know, how light refracts and does this and does that. And that's why he was presented with some videos, some flat earth videos of seeing too far. And I remember him saying in his very first video, how ridiculous is this flat earth thing? I'm going to go out and I'm going to prove it wrong. So he got all his cameras and his equipment and he measured refraction and he did reports at the end of the videos. And the first couple of videos, he turned around and he said, and you can watch these videos yourself if you can find them. He goes, the world does not present itself like a globe. Words to that effect. Okay. And then he did another video because he got hooked on it as well. Towards the end of his videos, he turned around and he said, the world presents itself as flat. Okay? These are people that are highly educated that go out and do the research and put in all the figures, all the data, and come back with exactly the same result that most of us have come back with. The earth presents itself as flat, no matter how you look at it, right? So therefore, you could live a life the life of a lie, or you can just turn around and accept it. If you don't want to tell people that you're a flat earther, don't tell them. But the truth is the truth. You know, I tell all my friends. I know that at first they laugh at me, but then because I'm pretty highly respected in the field that I'm in, they all turn around and say to me, "Look, we can't debunk you. They've tried. They can't debunk." And I say to them, I will take you down to Middle Park Beach when I get my camera again, and we will turn around and I will let you see it with your own eyes through the lens of the camera, and then you can make your own decision.
And did they change their mind?
A lot of them turn around and say they don't care because it's not going to make a difference. Okay, but some of them have changed their mind. They've got no option. Once you see it with your own eyes, you've got no option. Look, I was the same. I saw lots of videos from people, right? But I had to prove it to myself. And so I spent the money and I bought the cameras and the drones and, any equipment that I needed. And I went out and I took videos upon videos. And until you analyze those videos and you put them up against Google to figure out the distances, that's the only time that you're going to find out that the Earth presents itself as a flat plane. Even over land, it presents itself as a flat plane with elevations. It goes up with elevations with no curvature at all, right? I know with the city that we live in, you can drive along some freeways, and at some particular time on these freeways, you can clearly see the city outline all the way down to the ground level. It's amazing, right? Now, as soon as there's some build-up of, housing estates, a lot of that gets taken away. But there are, because we don't live in, like a city of 20 million, I mean, we're only a city of 7 million or something where we are, you can just see too far. It's just simple. You can just see too far, and you've got to trust your eyes. I'll tell you why you've got to trust your eyes, okay?
We believe that the Earth can appear to be flat when we are close to it, but it could be perceived as a globe when we are far away from it. Do you think that could be possible?
I don't think it's possible. I'll tell you why, okay? Number one, I don't believe that we can have 14 psi down here at the water level, right? But then when you go up, it's a vacuum. I don't believe that can be the case, okay? I think that breaks a couple of fundamental laws. When people turn around and say, "Oh, but if there's a gradient," but you still need a container to form a gradient, especially when we're talking about a vacuum that the globe Earth model claims is so strong. Like the strongest vacuum they can produce down here on Earth is 10 to the negative 6 tall. Okay, now that takes them nearly a whole day, 24 hours to vacuum the area out. And the walls are reinforced concrete, very, very thick, right? Lined with steel as well. And it still leaks. It still leaks air. Now, the vacuum of space is 10 to the negative 17 tall. That's a big difference even from 10 to the negative 6. Now, look, we can't have gas pressure here unless we are contained by something, right? It's impossible. Now, here's another thing. When you see a meteorite flying through space, they always show you a meteorite with a tail, a flaming tail, okay? Well, what is it that when NASA shows us images of the Earth that's traveling, mind you, at 66,000 miles per hour, where's our tail? Why do we not have a tail? Why are we shown as a perfect circle with, 73% of it covered in water, but no tail? Like a meteor has a tail. We don't have tails. It's just CGI. You can't believe. I don't believe we can get up that high. Look at the big rockets they use supposedly to get to the International Space Station. That's only 250 miles in the sky. That's not a big distance. That's like me driving from where I live to one of the country towns in Victoria. Takes me 2-3 hours to drive that distance. That's as far as they can go at the moment. Yet they're telling us that they can take a picture of the Earth. You can't take a picture of the Earth. All they do is use a wide angle lens to show curvature. That's all. Now, why do they use a wide angle lens? Look, it's obvious. A wide-angle lens, number one, shows you curvature, but number two, it also shows you a wider view of the picture you're taking. If you use the normal camera on the International Space Station, you're just going to get a really small area. You're not going to get a very wide picture. So there's reasons to it.
I see. Yeah, I understand where you're coming about for. Yeah, it requires a container for the air pressure. But I think there's a lot of how how the mechanism of this reality is still a lot of question marks that is yet to be answered. Yeah, but I'm agnostic towards to the shape of the Earth overall. I mean, the least thing I would like to see is having an objective truth. So I do not necessarily think the Earth is objectively global. I don't think the Earth is objectively flat. But I do see why the Flat Earth Society is here because. Well, you guys have the right here.
We're not the Flat Earth Society. We're just a group of people that can see reality, okay? And we're truth seekers. That's all it is. Personally, I believe we're never going to find out the shape of the Earth, the realm that we live in, how big it is, how it was designed. I think that's way out of the knowledge base of any human, any civilization that we've ever been. You'll probably find that there's a reset every, I don't know, 300, 400, 500 years and everything starts again. You know, it's too complex for the human mind to figure out what's really going on. What we do know is that the Earth doesn't measure a curve at all, ever. You know, that's the fundamental problem. That's number one. Number two, they cannot show that we can have any air pressure next to a vacuum. And that's impossible to happen, right? So somehow where we live is somehow contained. Okay? It's just as simple as that. All right? There's not much more I can say except that the only way you're going to find out the truth yourself, the partial truth, is by going out and trying to do some of these observations. Now, don't let them trick you into saying your eyes can be tricking you, okay? Because I play one of the fastest sports in the world, the second fastest sport in the world, to be honest with you, right? Table tennis. I represent my state, okay? So I'm a pretty handy player. I can tell you that my eyes deceive me when that ball's travelling at me at 100 kilometres an hour with lots of spin on it. Okay, I can still hit that ball back. My eyes don't deceive me. Okay, NASA deceives. That's as simple as that.
I see. Yeah. Well, I trust your eyes, and well, God bless Flat Earth, and enjoy. Peace out.